moderator for Rise Up is one of them, his youngest board members, an incredible voice for our planet. Starring in the fourth season of TNT's Claws, actor, influencer, and activist Karrueche Tran.
What a gift to not only be here, but be introduced by the green legend of Hollywood, Mr. Begley. Oh my gosh, I am so excited to meet these young activists and understand what motivated them to speak out and be part of the movement for a sustainable and clean environment. We are so thankful for their courage. Please welcome Kendrick Eagle, board member of Indigenous Energy and member of the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe. Jamie Margolin, 17-year-old youth activist, founder and co-executive director of the 0 Hour Movement. And we have Genisis Butler, our youngest activist at 12 years old, vegan at 6, challenged the Pope to go vegan and wants to be president someday. Goals, right? Hi, guys.
Hi.
So, from Greta Thunberg's Fridays for Future protests to plastic pollution, the youth are leading the modern environmental movement. What do you guys think is motivating them to take action and use their collective voices?
I think right now we're in a very strange place in history where young people are studying for a future, right? I am supposed to be in school right now. I'm missing school to be here. And I have to go back to school tomorrow back in Seattle. So that's going to be fun. But the point is that we're studying for a future that does not exist. And right now, we can try to paint it the pretty picture, but in reality, there is an impending mass extinction happening. We are in the 6th mass extinction, and all life on Earth and all society is coming to an end, and it's going to take not just a Band-Aid on top or a lifestyle tweak here and there, but a massive revolution in the way that we live and the way that we live in relationship with the Earth. And so young people, how do you not take action when you're living in that kind of world where you're literally people tell you, you got to apply for colleges now. I'm in my junior year and about to be a senior next year, so that means college application hell is about to start. And I just took the SAT, and all of this grueling work for studying for something that isn't there, because right now fossil fuel corporations, a lot of animal agriculture corporations, politicians are actively putting profits over the lives of us in order to prevent us from having a livable Earth. So that's why we're taking action, is because our lives depend on it, and we've just had enough. And if we don't take action, by the time I am old enough to be in a position of power, it's going to be way too late.
Yeah. And Kendrick, what about you?
Is it on? Oh, yeah. So to elab on, to go off of hers, she really hit the point on educating the younger people and to make them realize that our lives are at stake. Your kids' lives are at stake, and we won't have a place to live if it isn't for summits like these, to educate you guys on issues that need to be heard by the people that are in those higher power seats. So, and I think that's pretty much what I would have to say for that question.
Yeah, and I think what's amazing is that you guys are at the forefront, and you guys are influencing the youth to follow in your footsteps for positive change. Genesis. Now, you challenged the Pope to go vegan for Lent. Let's give her a round of applause for that. Why do you think we must be so bold with what we are asking leaders to do?
I think the reason why we have to be very bold about asking leaders to go vegan and asking them to speak out about climate change, I think that it's very important because we're running out of time. When I was traveling doing the $1 Million Vegan campaign, I was able to go to Oxford University, and I met with Dr. Joseph Poore, and he told me how climate change is happening way quicker than scientists could have predicted, and it's 12 years till the planet's just fully destroyed, and I'm 12 years old, and that's not a lot of time. So I think that right now we're running out of time. We have to make bold moves like this, or else we're going to run out of time.
Agreed. And please tell us about your experience.
The impact that the $1 Million Vegan campaign had was we were in 800 news publications around the world, and we were able to raise a lot of awareness on climate change and how you can fight climate change with diet change. And I was able to meet with a lot of people, and we got a lot of celebrities involved. We got Joaquin Phoenix involved and Paul McCartney, and a whole bunch of celebrities and people around the world were able to find out about this, and I was able to get I got a bunch of messages from people around the world saying how they never really knew how animal agriculture was making this much of a destruction on the planet. And I've gotten DMs from environmentalists, and they've told me how they went vegan because they never really realized how animal agriculture was doing that much damage on the planet. So it made a huge impact and got a whole bunch of people to go vegan. It made a big impact.
Nice. Wow. And how was it meeting the Pope?
It was really fun meeting the Pope. He looked and he smiled, and we got a big response back from him, and he said how he was very proud of all the work that I did.
Oh, that's awesome. So recently, a group of 15-year-old students from Oxford amassed 70,000 signatures demanding that climate change be added to their curriculum. Do you think this is an effective way to finally get climate issues into our global school system?
I think that we have to be pushing for climate justice education in our schools, but I say climate justice because not all climate education is the same. So a little bit of background for what I'm going to go into. So my organization is called 0 Hour. We're a youth climate justice organization led by a majority young women of color who are fighting the root systems of oppression that caused the climate crisis in the first place. We organized the first ever youth climate march on July 21st, 2018 in 25 cities around the world, as well as different lobby days, and we created this whole platform that we created with different youth from different tribes and other marginalized youth who are on the front lines of the climate crisis. And so when we go, right now we have this campaign called the #GetToTheRoots, where we are training young ambassadors to present these climate justice education presentations to their communities. Now, it's not the typical science presentation of the greenhouse gas effect and all of that. That has become more so common knowledge and just kind of spreading that charts and graphs and, oh, look, here's a bar graph of increasing carbon levels. That doesn't really move people. If I see a chart of like, here are some molecules in the air, like, okay, cool, whatever, like that doesn't really move people. But what does is the human lives being lost. And so at 0 Hour, we tackle we start these hard conversations because in reality, in order to have real climate justice education, and in order to solve any issue, you have to get to the root of what's causing it. Einstein said that the definition of insanity is trying to solve an issue with the same thinking that caused it. And right now, a lot of the mainstream climate community is trying to solve this issue with the same colonial, capitalist, racist thinking that caused it. And that makes people very uncomfortable. But if you look back at how climate change got started, like the root of it, where we went wrong, it really started with colonialism and the idea that everything is for sale and that everything is for our extraction, that we can take. And these power structures, we can't solve climate change within these same power structures. We can't solve climate change within a system that puts profit above everything else. We can't solve the climate crisis while putting corporate benefits first and just trying to tweak something here, tweak something there, and hope it'll all fall into place. What we need to do, I'm sorry, like, your paper straws are cool and all, but we need a revolution. And because, for example, like the mainstream climate community likes to talk about like paper straws. Well, not paper, plastic straws. That's 0.01% of all plastic pollution. The vast majority of it comes from fishing corporations. And 100 corporations on this earth are causing the climate crisis. And yet we're shifting the blame and guilt on individual like marginalized communities. I have friends with disabilities who are like guilted, all sorts of stuff like that. When in reality, we need to start thinking larger, and in this climate justice education, and what we do with our education system, that Get to the Roots presentation, is we talk about the systems of oppression, and we say, how can we solve climate change with it by colonizing our way out of it, when in reality it was caused by colonialism. Because, for example, different different solutions, like for example, cap and trade or other like corporate band-aids, where it treats air and water like a commodity that can be bought and sold, that actually harms the communities that are feeling the worst effects of the climate crisis, that's not going to cut it. And that's actually very deadly if we do not get to the roots of the climate crisis properly, because right now, like, it's an emergency and we need to start treating it that way.
Amazing. So well said.
Wow.
Kendrick, how do you think we can align traditional tribal knowledge and contemporary science to help solve environmental issues? And what role does the youth play in this?
I had a big answer for that. So I had to write it down because I wanted to get the point across to everybody here. So if you think about it, we as Native Americans were the very first environmentalists of this land. And you think about all like modern medicines and the plants that are derived from our traditional knowledge that are using today, the knowledge that we had for thousands of years is important to give this knowledge to the youth, and that's where the youth play a big role in that, because they need to carry this knowledge to teach their kids as kids on how important it is to protect our environment in any way we can. And using modern stuff like today, like solar farms and wind energy and stuff like that, and infuse our traditional knowledge into these new ways of life is really important, because our ways of life has been here for thousands of years. And I just came back from San Francisco, and I met a lot of people that, it was another summit. I met a lot of people that have never met a Native American before. And I took that to initiative to be like, I need to be a voice for our culture, for our ways of life, that because whenever the colonists came to America to here, we taught them how to live. We taught them how to plant. We taught them what kind of medicines to use and plants to use, and basically taught them how to live on this land and use it. And I believe that our ways of life would then, we have to teach today's modern life, or today's era, the same way, by using solar energy, by getting rid of the plastics and stuff like that. So we have to find some way to use that. And there's things that there's a lot of organizations on Standing Rock that are being created from being a part of the movement on Standing Rock, the No DAPO movement. Have anybody heard of that? Yeah. Being a huge part of that and the youth voice of that, I've seen a lot of things. I wasn't educated as I should have been, but after the whole movement that had happened there, I opened my eyes to I need to be educated on my tribal knowledge, and meeting a lot of people and going through all that stuff. It opened Standing Rock's eyes, and a lot of traditional, a lot of people that are Native American, they opened, like, we got to stand up as our and teach people our culture and our ways of life, because it's important. And organizations such as mine, we created the biggest solar farm in North Dakota after the movement. It's called Indigenous Energy, and it's just 2-3 miles from the Dakota's Access Pipeline. And so that's built now, and it's amazing. And learning about solar energy as I am right now is really important, because we just now had classes in our local communities to teach the kids on solar energy. A lot of people don't know about it. North Dakota is a big oil country up there, and it's really hard to pretty much change people's minds up there, because they're really blinded by the money and all that, with oil and everything. So a lot of people get a lot of big money up there, and a lot of people are blinded by what they're causing. So and that's what I'm a part of. And I think if we invest in the youth and listen to them and invest in our traditional ways of life to teach the youth on how we can provide the knowledge, the tribal knowledge, and modern day technologies, and just kind of interline them. And we're doing that as Indigenous Energy. We're doing that in our local communities, teaching our our community members how does solar energy work, and I think that's one of the ways that we can try to go about, is trying to interact them and invest in the native and youth, because you guys have voices like Genesis here is 12 years old and she's amazing, and but yeah, and she's 17. I'm 26, so I'm like the older group. I kind of feel out of place right now, but so I'm pretty. I think that's how we can.
Thank you. Yes, and thank you for pushing that message and educating all of us on, what we're unaware of. So thank you. Okay, so we are filming this, and imagine all of the world's leaders are watching. I know you've met one already, but imagine all of the world's leaders are watching. What is your message to them?
I would say, first of all, what you need to do is you need to stop trying to solve this issue within a comfortable framework, within the same power structures that you have right now. And you need to stop pretending like this is just another issue on the list that you can do a tweak here, tweak there, and then conveniently go around screwing everyone over. What you, the world leaders out there, need to do is, like Greta Thunberg said, is like you need to panic on this issue. You need to throw business as usual out the window. I don't care if you lose money. In fact, if you're losing money, that's probably a sign that you're doing something right. Throw the conventional, what's good for business model out the window, and really think about what actually matters, and think about your children, and think about all that is sacred and good on this earth, because right now, even leaders, I've talked to so many leaders who are climate champions and who claim that they're great on climate and will talk great, but it's a very self-congratulatory, look at me, I'm an environmentalist, take a picture with me, give me an award, kind of give me a cookie for believing in climate change, kind of climate champion. And you don't get a cookie just for saying that climate change exists. You don't get a cookie just for saying, oh yeah, we should probably act on that. You need to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. You need to check your privilege. You need to bring people from the frontline communities of the climate crisis, like your friends at Standing Rock, like other people on the front lines of fossil fuel extraction who have been feeling the worst effects of what you have done. And you need to bring them to the table, and you need to listen to them. You need to take a step back, give them the reins. And we have about 10 years in order to radically transform everything, radically transform life as we know it. So you do not have time to dilly-dally. You do not have time to do incremental tiny changes, and you don't have anything. In fact, I would argue that it is criminal to do tiny incremental changes like that, and it is criminal to try to stay within the same power structure and try to capitalism your way out of this, because right now, at least here in the United States, we have the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And right now, those are being denied to my entire generation, because how are we supposed to pursue life, or have life, or pursue happiness, or any of that without a livable planet, clean air, clean water, and all these basic rights that they're denying us? So I would say, put your ego to the side, put yourself in a hard situation, sacrifice everything, start giving up your comfort level, start giving up your power, and let's get to work.
Wow. Kendrick?
You have anything you want to say, Genesis?
Or Genesis?
I think what I would say to leaders is that we really have to start acting on climate change, because we're running out of time, and once the time's out, we can't reverse climate change. And when the planet's destroyed, there's future generations and generations to come in my generation, and we're not going to have a planet. I mean, adults are having their time on this planet, but for my generation, we're not going to be able to have a time on this planet if we don't start acting now and starting to raise awareness and starting to speak out on climate change and letting people know how you can fight climate change with diet change, and making bold moves and asking leaders and letting people know, just educating them on climate change. I think that we all really have to start acting now, because once it's too late, and we can't reverse it.
Yeah. Kendrick?
And to kind of elaborate on that, she's 12 years old, going out there and facing this head on, and she has my support, and as you as well, 17 and 12 years old. And it's amazing to see. I don't know what I was doing at 12 years old. I know I wasn't doing this. And and to elaborate on her and just kind of give her the props that she deserves. And she's our warrior. She's the modern day warrior. She's standing up and fighting against a big issue that all these big companies that they don't understand, like they don't want to believe in it because they're gaining a lot of profit. And as for me, I am a father of 6 kids. I'm 26 years old. I started taking care of my 4 little brothers ever since I was 19, so I had to grow up and pretty fast. And that's what I think. That's exactly why I'm here, is because I'm raising my 4 little brothers, and I see them. In their generation, like, people aren't looking at their future. They're pretty much not caring in a world like for Genesis and my kids' future. And I'm here today. I work for the youth initially. I work with the youth. I do a lot of different activities, and being an activist, I have to be an activist because being a Native American, that's in our blood, basically. Because growing up, knowing that we have to protect Mother Earth. In our language, we call it Unchi Maka. And today, and within, the scientists are saying within 10 to 12 years, it's going to be bad. And I think going back to our cultural ways of life, I think everybody's got to learn how, and they have different reservations in your guys' communities. Here in California, there's all kinds of amazing Native people here. Learn about their ways of life, just take time and listen to them. They have some great things to say. Living in the modern world today, it's really amazing how technology is. And I think if we just connect one another, because in North Dakota, when I grew up there, it's always felt like non-natives and natives were so divided. It feels like back in the day. And that's one of the things I want to try to pretty much fix. Connect the youth is one of the main reasons I want to work for the youth, because I think if we connect the youth up there in North Dakota, it'll become a better North Dakota, because right now we're not working together up there, and it's just kind of like everybody's ignoring one another, and that's got to stop, because the earth is going to be coming, or it's going to end soon, and we're fighting over, nothing, and a lot of people understand that from where I come from, but coming to California, I feel really comfortable coming down here because it's so diverse, and one of the reasons up there is that I'm fighting is try to connect the youth in a broader way to fix something that's broken up there in North Dakota.
Yeah.
So, but that's pretty much what I have to say.
I see that time is almost up, but I just want to leave you guys with this one final thought, because we've had this amazing conversation, and I want to leave you guys with an action item. Before I go into the action item, I just want to say real quick that the youth, to preface it, the youth shouldn't have to be doing this, and that we have to, it's very shameful that it is on our shoulders, and it's a shame to our entire generation and our parent generations that this is just thrust on top of us. It's not a cool, trendy after-school activity to fight for your life on Earth, and that shouldn't be normalized. So the fact that youth have to be rising up should be a wake-up call that this is 0 hour to act on climate change. Now, in terms of help, we, the youth, need your help. I see a lot of the people in this room, you guys have different spheres of influence, whether it be in the media, whether you have money, whether you have whatever it is, the people in this room are people with a lot of privilege. And I can give you a concrete, direct way to channel that if you guys would like. Do you guys want to take some concrete action to help the youth? Yeah? Okay. So I see a lot of you have your phones out. I would encourage you to get out your phones and go to thisiszerohour.org. We're organizing a Youth Climate Action Summit in Miami, Florida, where we're highlighting the voices of the Indigenous tribes in Florida, people who are on the front lines of climate destruction, as well as hosting all sorts of people from different front lines of the climate crisis there in Florida. So go to thisiszerohour.org, and our summit is July 12th through 14th, and that's going to be a part of an international weekend of climate justice action called the hashtag #ThisIsZeroHour Weekend of Action, July 12th through 14th. We are a bunch of underfunded, scrappy high schoolers who are taking time out of school, missing school, our grades are dropping, with tiny grassroots donations, funding our actions and working our butts off, like 6 hours a day I work on this stuff. So if you guys want to sign up and register for the summit, if you guys have money, you guys want to put your pocketbooks where your mouth is and where your tweets are, and actually fund the youth movement. If you guys want to cover or anything like that, I'm asking this because we really need your concrete help, and anything that you have could be really, really helpful, because this is a really hard fight. We shouldn't have to be fighting it. So let's put our power together, because I think just the resources of the people in this room could make this summer's action really historic and highlight a bunch of voices that need to be heard. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, I commend each of you for being leaders and utilizing your voice and being such a powerful voice for your generation. You guys bring light to what can be such a dark world at times. And I'm sure everyone else, thanks you so, so very much. Let's make some noise for these young leaders.
Thank you.